Now to the debate at hand. I'm here tonight to speak on the important issue to residents of my community in Kelowna Lake Country and all Canadians, and this is Canada's housing crisis. I'd like to quote some numbers from a recent RBC Housing Affordability Report, which stated as of October 2023, a household earning a median income needed to spend 63.5% of it just to cover the costs of owning an average home. And in 2015, that number was 39.3%, and that's lower than even the long-term average of 41.4%. And upon looking at the chart for the Vancouver area, it's about 140% of household earnings for a single detached home. In Vancouver, it now takes 106.4% of median house income to own a home. These numbers are staggering. No wonder young people from across Canada are losing hope with ever owning a home. Now, since 2015, we know that rents have doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, and the amount that someone would need to save for a down payment has more than doubled. The CMHC states housing starts are down and will continue to be for the foreseeable future. As well, we now hear that chronic homelessness is up 38%, and the federal housing advocate referred to homeless encampments as, quote, a physical manifestation of exactly how broken our housing and homelessness system is, unquote, across Canada. The Liberals put Infrastructure Canada in charge of the government's program for reducing and ending chronic homelessness. However, Infrastructure Canada has not adopted reducing or ending chronic homelessness as a performance indicator for its homelessness program, which is listed as one of their core responsibilities. We're conducting a study right now at the Housing Committee, and there have been many witnesses that have come and spoken to this committee. One example is a roofing contractor expert who has said that costs are through the roof. We've had many other witnesses that have laid out how the Liberals' housing plan to build 3.87 million homes by 2031 is not achievable, and that the numbers aren't reasonable. We know that the Bank of Canada has confirmed that Canadians will see a steep jump in interest in payments as millions of Canadians renew their mortgages over the next few years. And this just makes it more difficult for people to keep their home or for those who want to get into a home. This is an important issue that we need to keep talking about in this place. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Madam Speaker, I work with the Honourable colleague on the House of Commons committee responsible for housing. We disagree on fundamental issues relating to housing policy, but what I will say is that she has the respect of her colleagues on that committee, including myself. The way she began her speech tonight shows the passion that she has for her community and the job that she does in this House of Commons. She did mention, Madam Speaker, and here's where the disagreements do begin. She talked about young people, for example. She talked about down payments. What this government has done is recognize that it is difficult for young people in particular to put together a down payment to buy a home, and therefore we've created a tax-free account where up to $40,000 can be put in for young people in particular to buy a first home. In fact, 750,000 Canadians have opened up an account to do exactly that. The Conservatives don't approve of that approach. They voted against that specific action. When it comes to apartments, young people are in search of apartments, for example, as are many Canadians. Rent is expensive. We need more supply. We need more supply of, in particular, apartments to bring down that cost of rent. This government has waived, the GST off of the construction of apartments for the middle class, for young people. But the Conservatives oppose that. In fact, she mentioned the Housing Committee and the work it's doing. We heard from a witness the other day, she knows us very well, that approach is not in line with doing what's needed to add supply in the housing crisis that we face. They want to maintain GST on the construction of apartments. It makes no sense. When it comes to building more homes, embracing a vision of missing middle housing is what we have to do, Madam Speaker. By that I mean duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, row houses, mid-rise apartments. The deputy leader of the Conservative Party, as I shared in this House of Commons during question period a few weeks ago, made clear on a yacht, no less, Madam Speaker, that they don't have that vision. They don't embrace a vision of building more homes, missing middle homes. They want to side with the not in my backyard types, the NIMBYs, Madam Speaker. It's not an acceptable approach if one is serious about addressing the housing crisis. And finally, Madam Speaker, the colleague talked about challenges that Canadians will have with renewing their mortgage. I worry about that as well, Madam Speaker, but where is the Conservative Party to offer the types of supports that we're actually able to offer? The Bank of Canada sets interest rates, and I'm glad to see that they recently introduced a rate cut. I hope that will follow. I think it will. We will see. But where is the Conservative Party on offering the types of supports that government can actually control? On childcare, on dental care, on pharmacare, on a national school food program, Madam Speaker? 400,000 kids going to school every day hungry still. That's not acceptable. And the Conservative propose nothing but cuts to address that situation, that challenge, which is unacceptable in this country. Their approach is not serious. They don't care, Madam Speaker.
The honour for Kelowna Lake Country.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank the member for his intervention here. I do want to bring up that housing is so incredibly important here in Canada. We know that we're in a housing crisis. It's been identified that we're in a housing crisis. We are doing this housing study right now at the Housing Committee, and Conservatives are committed to continue working on this through the summer. And so my question to the honourable member is whether or not his government, his Liberal group on the committee, is going to be supporting our motion that I put forth today, along with my Conservative colleagues, calling on our committee to sit over the summer. And the motion, without reading it in detail here, basically outlines how we could have meetings. We've been very flexible with the dates so that it can work for everyone, so that we can continue this conversation about the housing crisis over the summer. It's too important.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
As the member knows, I'm always happy to speak about housing, Madam Speaker. Always happy to talk about it, work on that committee. And so I look forward to working with that member on these issues. Of course, the specific matter she raises is, as you know, Madam Speaker, a matter for the committee to take up. At that committee, speaking of it, at that committee, we've also heard challenges relating to getting homes built, specifically on things like permitting, Madam Speaker. I raise this because the Housing Accelerator Fund, which that party stands against, and unfortunately that member has voted against, it meant that community support that Kelowna needs to see, funding support rather, that Kelowna needs to see, would not have flowed if they were in power. It did flow because we made the decision to fund Kelowna's application under the Housing Accelerator Fund. They get funding to modernize their permit application using AI to get fast approvals. She's against that, evidently, Madam Speaker.